All right, our man Boo says, if I want to offer both a one-time setup offer and a retainer-based service, does that mean I should have 2 landing pages or VSLs? Would it make sense to have both and send traffic to it based on the content that's created? I remember you mentioned a while back on having people send you a message first before a doc or Loom video. Is there a certain type of landing page of WhatsApp you set up for people confirmed interest before they can send you a message or request more information? Simple. So Max says, second question, when running an email campaign about the $100 bill, is it okay to let them receive the offer by a phone call or a landing page with a booking option? And if people book, how would you do that if every plastic surgeon has a different booking software? Brad says, what are the best tools and strategies for managing a growing team of virtual assistants and ensuring project deadlines are met efficiently? Welcome back, everybody. We got another exciting agency Q&A week, and you guys are kicking ass and taking names. I mentioned this the other day. Like, this business is hard, but it is so worth it. Like, I know there's a lot of gurus out there who like show it as 2 Comma Club awards and Lambos and all that kind of shit, and my real world version of it has never been that. Kudos to you if yours is, but this is so worth it. And so I love what you guys are building. I love what you guys are doing. Just quick little announcement before we get rocking and rolling. I'm looking for new agency folks. Take to the next level because the Wolfpack is getting to be one of the things I've been working on is I have like swipe files for everything. So like you want to onboard a client, I know I got a swipe file for that. You want to communicate with clients, I got a swipe file for that. You want to hire somebody, I got a swipe file for that. You want to and using AI tools, we now can customize it. So you tell it like 2-3 details. Like, you know, like we got a direct mail letter and like, hey, you want to use our direct mail letter that works? Just give it these 2-3 details and it'll go and create it for you. So we're building like an insane amount of tools that I think are just going to make everybody's life faster, easier, better. So if you guys are interested in that, check out beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack. I'm also looking for 2 folks this week. I'm going to do some done-for-you Loom stuff. I haven't decided if this is something I want to do, like, more frequently for you guys, get you guys off the phone and just have me do it, because a lot of people struggle with, the structure and all that. And I'm happy to just build it for a couple people, and we'll see how that goes and see whether I like doing it a whole bunch more. So if you guys are interested in that, you can just shoot me a message. Other than that, though, let's get into the good shit. Always need a drink before the line. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Kudos to you for guys. By the way, this week we're starting on some real talk here, man. Tommy asked the question, digital social addictions work procrastination solution. Hi, thought I'd also post here in case any business people have solved this problem. I'm dealing with some dramatic chronic addiction to digital devices, and in particular to ones with screens. As a result, it's been tough to do work as I find it very boring in comparison. When I don't use the devices, I notice I feel a lot of pain. Sometimes seems like loneliness. Looking for anyone who can point me to any types of therapies or specialists who deal with this. I've tried surface level practices like productivity and app blockers and motivation stuff and stuff like that. But I'm more looking for root cause solutions, example, avoidance of that pain and how to solve it. Appreciate the help, and please let me know. Well, Tommy, I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there listening to this that can't relate to the addicted to the phone. And there are definitely like levels to this phone addiction. I wouldn't say I'm perfect at it, by the way. I definitely like have my phone on me too much. Like one of the downsides of being an influencer, a little micro influencer on the internet. Shed a little tear for that notion. So let's talk about the first thing. You mentioned avoiding it in that when the phone is put down, you feel lonely. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like we're not in the day and age. When I grew up, like you would go looking for your friends. I can remember knocking on like, hey, is Tommy home? Nah, Tommy went to the park. And then we try and chase Tommy at the park. Shit, Tommy left the park 10 minutes ago. He's on his way there. And you spend half the morning trying to track down Tommy. And there was no social media app where you could just message Tommy and be like, where are you at, motherfucker? And so, like grew up in an entirely different world. I'll tell you, if you want to be successful long-term as an entrepreneur, like this statement has to be true, is that you have to be willing to deal with uncomfortable shit that most people avoid. And one of those is take this thing, put it in another room, and when the intense loneliness starts to come on, sit there and feel it and don't try and run away from it. And I'll tell you, like this comes up in lots of little ways as an entrepreneur. Like one of the things I see that is when you begin to hire people, almost inevitably you're going to hire somebody who doesn't work out. You're going to have to fire somebody. Man, it's a really hard conversation to fire somebody, and you want to avoid them, and you want to not do it. But as an entrepreneur, you realize it must be done, and you face it. So like to me, like if the root cause is you're feeling lonely every time your phone's down, like just feel the loneliness and breathe. I'll tell you, like, and I had to do a lot of ayahuasca work on this, just so you guys know, but I remember I used to have like really bad anxiety and panic attacks. I haven't really talked about this a ton, but like, it's the truth, just so you guys know. I used to have really bad like anxiety and panic attacks, and like not just for like 2 minutes either. Sometimes it would take me out for days, and I'd be like freaking out, and I'd get this agitated feeling in my chest. And eventually what I learned, through my kind of plant ceremonies is what happens is like, it happens really, really fast. But I would get this like really intense feeling all of a sudden in my chest, and my mind would start going, oh shit, I'm freaking out. And it would amplify that feeling. And what I had to learn to do was sit and feel this agitated feeling in my chest and just breathe through it and slow it down and calm it down. And I didn't try and change it. I just tried to breathe through it. And then what would happen is eventually I could do it in like a minute, where I could calm myself in a minute. And then eventually, like, I could do it in 3 seconds. And so I still have, like, the precursor to my anxiety. Like, my chest will start getting all excited. I just don't freak out anymore. I just breathe through it and relax. So whatever's going on for you internally, like, you got to accept and make it okay. And, like, be okay with those feelings. Now, let's talk about, like, kind of real-world practical things, okay? So one of those is, I believe that if you want to not be addicted to your phone entirely, that you should put it somewhere away from you. So I always make sure to like charge it in a different room than I sleep in. So when I wake up, I have to go get it. And then what I do personally is I put my like gratitude notebooks and things like that and my notepads, because I want to think clearly with pen and paper before I go access the phone. And then there's the other practical matter. I have all my notifications turned off, like all of it. So it's like I don't see all the bazillion pop-ups and messages and ding, 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 somebody mentioned you here. And then I think another more practical thing that not enough people discuss is, are you a consumer or a producer? Because if you want to be an entrepreneur for real, you got to produce shit for other people. And that means whenever you fire up social media, like more often than not, it's to create something that is of value to other people, not to consume other shit people have made for you, entertainment and messages and so forth. And so what happens is, like I consider social media like the modern day TV station, right? What used to happen is like most people watch TV, but a small amount of companies created commercials and created TV shows and they sold them. Like you have to be the one producing the TV shows or the one producing the commercials, right? If you want to be an entrepreneur and like do that game for real. So it changes your relationship to it. And I believe that place starts with, a lot of people get this screwed up, but the place it starts with is going, who would I actually love to help? Who would I actually like want to produce stuff for? Because if you get that question right, like a lot of what to produce, when to produce it, how should I produce, a lot of that works itself out once you're clear about who you're making it for. Like let's just say you wanted to help golfers that were left-handed. Well, it would be pretty easy. Then you just go where the golfers hang out and you make golf stuff and you talk about golf-related things, right? Almost always people struggle with this because they're not clear on who they're talking to. So once you have that, like you can use social media to produce shit and be valuable in a marketplace. And then what will happen is your entire relationship with the phone will change. Just so you know, not that you'll like all of a sudden get off of it, but you won't see it as a lonely. You'll be looking to serve, and almost inevitably, what happens is when you look to help other people, you have to come from a place where you're kind of full in yourself, or your problems don't matter as much right now. And so what happens is you think more about helping other people and stuff, and you start to feel more full inside. It's a crazy little side effect. And I would call that purpose. And I would say most people don't have it. And so it's real fucking hard to do it. But like purpose in its most simplest form to me is just it's created, by the way, not discovered. Like a lot of people sit around waiting for some thunderbolt of inspiration to come down instead of just getting their ass busy and getting to work and going, who do I want to help and what do I want to help them with? That's purpose right there, is just answering those two questions. So to me, like, I don't think like any of those like motivation and time blocker apps and productivity are like, they're not going to address the real deeper lying issue, which is that, you know, you feel sad when you're apart from it, and that ultimately you're not using it to make anything. And I say that like not to like as a judgment point of view, but what I mean by that is like quite literally when you're making stuff for other people, you're going to find yourself happier than when you're consuming other people's shit. Like, I can just tell you from having done that, like, you're going to be happier making cool tools and things like that influence the world and helping people. Even if they're just like little micro things that make people's lives easier, you're going to get a bigger benefit from that than you are going to be like just standing there like scrolling and, you know, paying attention to nonsense basically. And, you know, we all got our moments of nonsense. Like, I definitely like have my own version of cat videos where I waste time. But I say that because like I think the phone as a production tool is amazing, and when you can be okay with not having it too. And I'll tell you, for me, what helps more than anything else from a practical point of view is before I do phone, before I do anything else, I always start with pen and paper. Like, I got literally fucking notepads full of shit. I say shit. My daughter's drawing is not shit, but you know, like, I got notepads just full of notes and ideas I have, and I find that the best business tool there is. So if you can start the day there, then what happens is it gives you the choice to be intentional about the phone. You can write down, how do I want to use the phone? How many times do I want to check it? How much is too much? What sort of relationship do I want to have with the phone instead of just reacting to notification, ding, 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 stimulus, dopamine hit. And like, that's how most people use it. So I hope that's helpful to you and anybody else out there dealing with the phone addiction. We all got it. So like, you know, don't take it personally. But you know, like, change the dynamic of the relationship. Change how you want to have a relationship with your phone. And ultimately use it as a tool to better people's lives. And what you'll find is it becomes a more interesting tool. Shadeen, I hope I'm saying it right. We said, I was curious to know if you can really break it down and discuss on your weekly Q&A session about providing agency ready, complete, white label design, development, and maintenance suite that can take a digital agency on the next level without hiring unreliable freelance technical hassles and remote hiring. Maybe you'll get the details here. He put his website. Also, do you think this kind of Loom video might be a good fit in our outreach to agencies? By the way, very engaging newsletter. Love each of your delivery. All right, here's my man. So for those of you guys who don't know, it sounds like Shadeen is either, you know, in India, Pakistan, that part of the world, and wants to do like white label web design where he helps agencies where, you know, they need somebody to make their website and they don't want to do it, and he'll be like their fulfillment partner. I'll tell you like what you actually have to address when you're in that part of the world. So whether you like it or not, by the way, when you're coming from the part of the world where you're like India, Pakistan, like that general region, Sri Lanka and so forth, like you generally just don't have a good reputation, and it's not your fault. It doesn't mean you're personally shitty, but you have to understand that it's there. And I used to always joke about this with attorneys because I would say, hey, the only people with like a worse reputation than you guys are us. and Indian marketers are a special breed where people like just don't trust you. So, and I'll tell you what this means for me personally, okay? I've hired like at least 1,000 different freelancers and stuff over the years, especially on like Fiverr. Like I've hired tons of like little side gigs and shit like that. But also, you know, like all of them, Freelancer, Upwork, you know, all the things that have come and gone over the years. And one of the things I notice is that when I've dealt with people in India who, a lot of them are like super available and super communicative, like they're easy to reach before they take your money. And then the minute they take you money, there's always a reason why, like, they needed extra time to get back to you. Oh, sorry, my mother was sick. Like, I can't tell you the number of times somebody from India had a sick mommy or a sick whatever, and they just couldn't quite get back to me. Before they took their money, they were, like, super, and they do this thing where it'd always be like, no problem, sir, no problem, no problem, no problem. And so what I say for you is the opportunity is if you just really focus on being really fucking good at fulfillment, like, I swear to God, you will not hunger for work. Where most people in India, they're trying so hard to sell on it. They're like 99% on trying to sell it and 1% on trying to fulfill it. And if you do the opposite, like you won't have hard work getting a white label partner. What will be the challenge is it will just take some time for the reputation to spread. But like we have somebody in our mastermind who's from India and he does white label stuff for other people. And I recommend him and stuff to other people. And I do that because I know he's going to actually stand behind it. And I can tell you over the thousands of freelancers I've hired over the years from India, especially, is maybe 1% to 2% of them like actually really stand behind what they're selling. And so like it's an opportunity for you to just make people really fucking good websites and do what you say you're gonna fucking do. Like the bar is so low where you're at. The bar is so fucking low because it's all obsession about how do I get people to give me money. And what happens is what most people miss is sale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not really about outreach and all the things you just mentioned. Like, for example, I have a guy I've worked with online for now like 15 years, maybe. I don't even know how long it's been, but he does all kinds of like little odds and ends and jobs for me, and has for a long, long time. And because he's from India, that's why I mentioned him. But he stands behind what he said he's going to do. And so like I'm happy to send him more shit because I know he's going to actually take care of me. And the biggest thing missing from freelancers and stuff from India is they're going to take care of you. So you may have to do some risk reversal, by the way, in your outreach and your messaging to say like, oh, I'm happy to build the website for you first and get paid second or whatever, because I know people just disappear on you, or I'm happy to build half of it and get you the working model, and then we can talk about doing the rest when I'm finished, because I know that you've been screwed by people from India, right? So the more you like really just focus on being excellent in fulfillment in your side of the world, like, oh my God, like the market is desperate for that. Desperate. Like, I can't tell you how annoying it is for me, like hiring a freelancer and then they disappear and then I gotta go looking for another one. And all because they know how to like talk a good game before the money, but like then don't know how to stand behind it. So I'm saying like you got ample opportunity, and build your promise around like I'm going to take care of you after the fact and actually do it, and you'd be amazed. It's not that hard to sell websites in a place where most people like just don't even fucking show up and do the work they were already paid for. All right, our man Boo says, if I want to offer both a one-time setup offer and a retainer-based service, does that mean I should have 2 landing pages or VSLs? Would it make sense to have both, then send traffic to it based on the content that's created? I remember you mentioned a while back on having people send you a message first before a doc or Loom video. Is there a certain type of landing page of WhatsApp you set up for people confirmed interest before they can send you a message or request more information? So there's a lot to unpack there. So I want to kind of give you some principles rather than saying, always do this or always do that, because I find then like people get hung up in the, hey, my situation's a little bit different. So I'll tell you when we have people request information and when we just send them straight to a video to close. Okay. So whenever you have a new offer, something that the marketplace has not been validated, has not been sold a whole bunch, what I want more than anything else is not even sales, but feedback. I want to find out where people are saying no or where they have objections. And I typically use that information to then go and tweak our video, right? So if I have a new offer, it's very rare that a brand new offer that's never been sold in a marketplace sells and crushes it on version 1.0. Usually it's like version 2 and version 3 after we've gotten feedback and calibrated it. And so like, I'll give you a real example of that, okay? We had a guy in the real estate space, and I remember like he was sending messages about like how I can get you, investor sales listings, and they laughed and said, I have no interest in that. And then one guy said like, but I would pay for buyer listings, right? Well, then we tweaked all our message to be about buyer listings, right? So like, we reshoot the video to now be about buyer listings, and all of a sudden, don't be surprised if the same video works. If we are in a situation where we have an established offer and we know it works, then there ain't really much need to talk to people. Just let them buy it. Just like literally just put it on a fucking page, let them buy it, give them the buttons, give them the tools to self-select and buy it when they want to buy it. So we have offers like that where it's just like, you just buy it. Whenever you want, buy it. So like those are the principles of when to use. And then you kind of ask the question of like, I have setup fees, I have 2 different offers, and there's some complexity in what I'm doing. So I'll give you a real simple example with, I think, Chris, who's in the detailing space. They sell a shit ton of websites, but they also sell a shit ton of SEO on the back end of that. So the websites and the SEO are different videos. They're different pages. There's different landing pages. They have different messaging, and they have different content that drives people to them. And often like at different stages of the sales funnel as well. But having said that, like a lot of the people who buy a website also buy the SEO, and so they have one that leads into the other. And so the way to connect those services is to like really think about it in a logical sequence. So for like Chris, more times like people tend to buy the website first, and then once they have the website, then they want to optimize it, and then they want to get in front of all that Google traffic. So for him, he puts a lot of his stuff in front of the old like his content drives to the website, right? Because that's the first thing in the sequence. And then then after you bought the website, they have an email series that upsells you should get SEO, and here's why, right? And so it makes it very simple. Like if you ever run a split test of any kind, meaning you run multiple variations, if you put more than one option on a site and then just put one option, almost like I would say 99 times out of 100, the simpler just buy this one thing will work better. The only exception to that I find where it makes sense is when there's like a gold, silver, bronze, where you're really selling one thing, but then there's like different tiers of package. So sometimes you see software sold like this, where it's like, do you want the single user, do you want this, or do you need the enterprise level? And they're essentially selling the same software, but like there's 3 packages. So anyway, on that front, like really just one page, one sale, and then start with the one that they're most likely to buy first, and then, use the tools to lead them into the second. And depending on whether it's a new offer or an existing, like, established offer, like when it's not proven, you want feedback. When it is proven, you just want them to buy it, right? So it's kind of simple that way. I know it's a little confusing because sometimes I'll have people text me and stuff like that, but those are the reasons why. If it's a new unproven offer, I want them to text me. Our man Max says, hey, Frankie, quick question. Do you know if it's necessary to nurture a customer list about the $100 bill before offering it as a special offer in a gratitude campaign? I was actually just going to answer that, Max, in general, because I saw another one from you. I'm going to combine that with your other question. Let me just move this around in my old doc, because I think this would benefit other people. Max also said... the specifics on his, so I'm just organizing this here. Give me one sec. He says, hey, Frankie, thanks again for your tips on improving the Loom. Working on it right now. I have one more question to you about the mommy makeover offer. Do you think I can use the 5-day email campaign to directly sell the mommy makeover, or should I focus on nurturing the past patient list first? I'm wondering if it would be better to send informative emails about the procedures, testimonials for a week or so before doing the gratitude campaign with the mommy makeover. What do you think about this? So I would personally not nurture an existing buyer's audience, because in a lot of ways, you got to understand, I consider high ticket sales like a golf course. Okay, so if you think about a golf course, let's imagine a hole that's 450 yards, and it's got a bend halfway through, and you got to go over some sand bunkers and some water. There is no one automatic thing you always use on a golf course. It's very situational, right? It's very situational. So if you're 450 yards away from the hole on a golf course, well, you're going to use the driver. You're going to use the thing that hits the ball the farthest. And when you're really, really close to the hole, you're going to putt, right? Like you're going to use a putter. And sales are like that. And I say that because if you use the wrong tool for the wrong job, you can actually unsell people. So for example, if you're standing on the green and you're putting and you whip out the driver and try and smash it 450 or 300 yards, you're actually going to undo it. And so the question I always ask myself with campaigns is essentially how close to the hole is that person? And so if somebody's 450 yards away, meaning they've never heard of that doctor, they've never heard of that procedure, they don't know why they would buy it, they don't know what the benefits are, and they may just have a moderate interest in it, I'm probably going to nurture the fuck out of those people because they have a long way to go. And so I might have a webinar that teaches them, or a long form piece of content, or a video or a podcast I direct them to. And that's to warm them up to the basic idea. Having said that, if somebody has already bought that procedure from that specific doctor and they already know what it is, how the doctor works, and what they do, there is way, 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 way less selling needed. And in fact, if you have a long sales pitch, you will actually often unsell people. Think about that. You will actually unsell certain people. So for example, imagine your favorite restaurant is going to send you a message. Well, these are two very different messages, right? So one message is, watch our 45-minute webinar about why, kebabs are the greatest food you should ever eat, versus, hey, we got a special for $5.99. I say that because, right, if somebody's already researched that doctor one time, scheduled an appointment, paid for it, come into the practice, left them a happy Google review, they know what the doctor is, they know how much it costs, they know what the procedure is, you just need to give them a reason to come back. And the best reason I found is, thank you, we want to do something extra and cool for you. So the gratitude campaigns work not because the messaging is so on point, because your copy is so amazing, because you're nurturing. It's because they have an existing relationship with that business and they already know that they want to do business with them, right? So like we're going to keep it super simple. So Max says, second question, when running an email campaign about the $100 bill, is it okay to let them receive the offer by a phone call or a landing page with a booking option? And if people book, how would you do that if every plastic surgeon has a different booking software? I mean, it depends a little bit. Like, there tends to be, like, all the booking software and stuff like that in most industries, regardless of whether it's plastic surgery or dental or whatever, like, they're different, but they're all kind of the same. Like, in the same way that, like, what's the difference between Aweber, Active Campaign, Constant Contact, and Get Response, and all these email software, ConvertKit, like, they all kind of do the same thing. Right? Like, they do them in different ways, but they all kind of do the same thing. So that's the first thing, is like, I wouldn't be intimidated necessarily with software. But as a general rule, the more you just let people buy it, probably the better you're going to do. So if at all possible, I would just let them like self-schedule right on a landing page. And if you have to set up something for them, I would do that. But having said that, if it's not technically, logistically possible, then I would send them to a phone call. But we're working this more lately in the mastermind. Is like everybody else struggles with like clients suck at answering the phone, and so they can screw up deals for you because like they just don't know how to close, and you get blamed because they're really bad at closing. And we're just working on like just take it out of the client's hand, put it on a fucking landing page, let them buy it, schedule it, whatever they need to do, let them do it next, and you'd be amazed. Like a percentage of people will just fucking buy it. But as far as your earlier question about like why we're not like nurturing them and all that, because they're standing 3 feet from the hole and they already bought it. And a lot of times they don't know they can buy it again, right? Like if your favorite restaurant says, hey, we got a special today, like you didn't know there was a special unless they told you, right? So there's no magic way for you to know, right? So it's like they have to tell you, hey, we want you back. And so like a lot of the magic is in the existing relationship that they have not fully optimized, and they believe, hey, they know who I am, they know what I do. If they want me, they'll come back. But actually, like if you make a fucking offer and give them a reason why, they'll probably come back a lot sooner, right? Just like, yeah, okay, you know your favorite restaurant exists, but if they come in and say, hey, we got a $4.99 kebab, French fries, and whatever to drink today, like you're probably going to be more likely to come in than had they not made that offer, right? Like, so we want to stack the deck in our favor, but you don't want to unsell people in these campaigns. You don't want to like, if somebody's standing, like if somebody, like for example, if somebody like for me has watched 20 hours of my videos and then reaches out and says, I'm interested in the mastermind, the worst thing I can do is say, well, go watch my webinar, right? But having said that, if somebody goes, hey, I've never heard of you before, what should I do to find out about you? Like I would say, like, go watch my webinar, right? Like, so it's like just different tools for different jobs. But you have to understand, like when people are close to the hole, like don't unsell them by trying to overly nurture them and overly get cute. They've already demonstrated with behavior they want to buy that business or from that business. And I think about, I spent a good amount of time in my first 7 years in LA because, I had the plastic surgery agency, and there's just a lot of plastic surgeons in LA, and so I always had clients there, and I was always kind of like coming and going to that area, and I had some friends in that area, and so I just took a lot of trips to LA. But I remember talking to this lady, Toby, and I asked her like, hey, have you ever had plastic surgery? And she said no. And then she went, well, actually that's not true. I've had my boobs, I've had the Botox injections, I've had my cheeks done, and I've thought about doing a facelift. It's like, we have very different definitions of like, I've never had plastic surgery. And then she was talking about like, but I also really want to get this and I really want to get that. And it occurred to me, like, they're already thinking about getting more procedures. They're just not being offered it. So you're tapping into, like, a demand that's already there. You're not creating it. So, like, a lot of times you think you have to nurture people because you think the demand is not there. But in reality, the demand is there, and they're just not giving them enough reason. Like, if they said to Toby, like, hey, I know you've been thinking about Botox for a while, so we want to say thank you. We put together an awesome Botox special. If you've been thinking about coming in, like, now is the time to come back because we got it 25% off, or you get a free extra session. Whatever, like, come see Dr. Johnson. Johnson sounds dirty. Anyways, I hope that's helpful, Max. James says, how do you address the common client complaint that the leads are bad when their follow-up or sales process may actually be the problem? Okay? Give you like 3 basic paths you can take on this, and then I'll tell you which one makes the most sense to me. So when clients say, actually, I'll give you 4 basic paths. Okay, this is the most common one. When the client says the leads are bad, the most common path is to get in a pissing match and argue with them about it. Like, the leads are bad. No, you suck at closing. Oh yeah, well your leads are shit. That's why we suck at closing. And then you just get in this argument that goes nowhere. And nobody wins, by the way, when that happens. But that's the most common thing that actually happens. You get into a pissing match, and then the client cancels shortly thereafter. That's the most frequent scenario. Okay? The second scenario is you see this as an expectation problem, and so you establish from day one, we're in agreement. You need to call the leads back within 3 minutes. You have to call them 5 times, and you make that really, really clear. Like, this is your role in the process. And you have to repeat that often, like 10 times till they get it. Like, hey, why has nobody called this lead back in 3 minutes? We said if we're going to win, like, you got to call back in 3 minutes. This one's been 75 minutes. Like, they already fucking hired somebody else. So, second way is to see it as an expectation problem. I see that as the least efficient because...
Heidi found a new moon.
Yeah?
So, can you get it?
Tell her I'll be there in a minute, but Daddy's recording right now, okay, honey? My sweet bee is telling me about Mario Odyssey. Sorry, let's come back there. That was my sweet Zelda bee. Secondly, right, so even though expectation setting is important, I think you're going to struggle with this one because you're ultimately asking the client to change, and they generally fundamentally don't believe they're the problem. They believe it's your leads. It's something external to them and their processes. So can it be done? Yes, but it's hard. Third scenario. You do something to fill that gap, okay? So you do something like a live transfer where somebody else answers the phone who's been trained not to suck. And by the way, people will do this for like $5 a fucking phone call, right? Like people are desperate for work from home shit. Hey, answer the phone for 10 minutes and say this shit and you'll get 5 minutes or $5, $10. You can have the pick of the litter of the best people, by the way. So live transfer, or you might use Go High Level to send a notification. Hey, we know we missed your call, but called a missed call text back. But we're just on a job right now. We'll get back to you in the next 20 minutes. Okay, cool. Hang on tight. I'll get back to you in 20 minutes. Right. So there's one more example. Right, a missed call text back. Okay, so you do something to bridge that gap. And then the fourth is my favorite solution. I just had a conversation with Lana about this last week. So for the last 2 years, they don't ask clients to close anything. They just close it right over a landing page for them. And then the clients just get payment notifications. You're allowed to buy the thing right on the website. And they create schedule reminders and things like that. So people just show up at the place of business and they get a payment notification. And she said, in her words, something to the effect of I haven't heard the leads are bad in 2 years. And why would they? Because they're closing and they're showing up. And what you'll find is most businesses, especially local ones, they're not bad once they're face-to-face. They're just bad at everything before it. They're bad at phone calls and texting and knowing what to say and getting back to people. But once they're actually on a roof or talking about teeth or welcome to our office, they usually know what they're doing. Paul says we want to know about Mario Odyssey. Yeah, we had a big win, just so you know, Paul, in our business. I want to say a month ago, and I didn't tell anybody about it. It was very private, just kind of internal win, but I decided I have to celebrate, and I bought myself 2 or 3 games. So Mario Odyssey was one of them, and it's become a family thing. Kids take turns, and surprisingly, my little Heidi, who's 6 years old, is pretty good. She just found a new moon. She's all excited about it. So that's what's going on with Mario Odyssey. But we're about 3/4 of the way finished that game. It's a pretty labor-intensive game. So anyways, to your question, James, when they say the leads are bad, and there's one more solution I forgot to mention. And this works really well too, by the way, which is you identify the clients in your industry that don't suck at closing and you just work with those people, right? And usually, by the way, they've already paid for someone to help them with their phone. They have scripts, they have training, they have teams, they have a sales CRM. So one of the cheat codes I do is I'll advertise in front of the people in the industry who have a sales CRM. If you're looking at a sales CRM or making a change for it, I'll advertise to you at that moment because I know that you're more than likely know how to close deals. But those are my 2 favorite. Either work with the clients who already do know how, or take it out of their hands entirely. And then, as I mentioned, you can do the third option is help them bridge that gap. But otherwise, what you're going to find is clients are just going to blame you, and everybody's going to say your leads are shit, and you're going to end up canceling because there's different levels of the game, right? This is one payment level that says I'm the leads guy. Then there's the level of I can get you specific types of leads. And then there's the level of like, I can get you specific types of leads and close them, or get them face to face with you in some form or another, right? Like that's usually the highest echelon of like what they're going to pay for. So the more you can make your service around that, and usually what this means, by the way, is you're going to introduce complexity on one client, which is why I say it's so important to have a niche and reuse it, because you're going to it's going to be a more elaborate solution more than likely. But if you reuse it, it's the same solution over and over again. Like if you figure out, like I think of Ross, who has like stay-at-home moms who answer calls for him and then do a live transfer. Well, when he gets a new client, he's using the same stay-at-home moms to answer the phone, right? Like he ain't hiring new ones, right? He ain't giving them a new training script. The opposite. It's just like do the same. All right, we're going to do more calls now, right? Like it's the same basic idea. So I hope that's helpful. Brad says, what are the best tools and strategies for managing a growing team of virtual assistants and ensuring project deadlines are met efficiently? Okay, so usually, by the way, when people ask me this question, they ask me assuming that the answer is a project management tool. And obviously, project management tools help, but I believe there is a prerequisite in your business, which is quite literally, you have to figure out everything you're responsible for managing, and you have to write it all down, and every single thing you do has to have a set of instructions. And that can sound really daunting and overwhelming, that like you literally have to have a playbook for everything you do in your agency. But I promise you there's only like 4 or 5 things that you're actually doing that are major and important, and each one of those has maybe like 3-4 sub-processes. Ergo, you need like 15-20 things documented and organized. So I'll give you some examples. You guys probably generate leads. Well, there needs to be a documented systematic process for how we generate the leads and how we follow up with the leads and all that. And then you guys probably have a closing process. So there needs to be a systematic process for like, this is the script we use, this is the offer we make. So that there's like, just like a restaurant, like a good restaurant, you don't want to come in on Monday and have different level of food because the chef is different on Tuesday. You want consistency out of it, right? So like the way you get consistency is you have processes. Then you also probably have a way you onboard clients. And then you also have a way you probably communicate with clients. And if you have a team, you have a way that you hire them, and you also have a way that you train and onboard them, right? So like, that's about it. And I would probably say you probably need one more if your team is big enough, which is you need a management structure to like basically measure your KPIs and like a way of reviewing the numbers so you know what's happening. But that's basically it, right? Like each of those things has like 3-4 things. Like, how do you hire people? For us, like we post job ads certain places, and then we screen for candidates, and we always screen the same way. It's like it ain't different shit. And then we like, give them trial assignments, and we pay people, and then we onboard a certain person this way, and like that describes our hiring process. It's the same shit over and over, right? So what happens is a lot of times when people are trying to get organized, they try and like just dump it into a project management, but it doesn't work until you first get organized in your thoughts. And so I find the best like tool for that is pen and paper. It's like literally just break down, here's everything we're doing. And then break those down into micro tasks, and then one by one create a set of instructions for each of those things. And then that's what you put in your project manager, and that's how you organize your team. And then the way you manage that, which I wrote about in the book, is when you reach stage 3 where you're actually a manager, is what happens is when you first become a manager, okay, like to give you like the what I would consider like the way most people do it versus the right way, like the professionals, is when you first become a manager, like usually what happens is people come at you and they go, you got a minute? You got a minute? And like you just get requests thrown at you all day, every day of the form of, you got a minute? Hey, I need a login code for here. Hey, should we use this software, that software? Hey, so-and-so called in sick. What do you want me to do? And like and then there's the client demands and all that. And it's just like a barrage of incoming. And usually when you first become a manager, you're not like well equipped for that. But what happens is most of those requests, like if you think 80-20, like they are not equal at all, right? Like very few of those requests actually move the needle forward. And so what you have to do is you have to like figure out like these are the 5 to 10 numbers that define our business. Like this is how many leads we're getting, this is how many sales, this is how many calls, this is how fast we're onboarding. These are our average delivery times. This is our churn rate, like 7 numbers. And you got to track those, and you got to review them, and you got to meet with the team about those numbers. And the reason for this is, even if you already know your biggest problem in your agency is, say, churn, like people leaving and not staying and canceling, you have to get the whole team bought into, let's solve this problem together. and then have everybody contribute ideas and everybody do something to help with the churn issue. And what will happen is, instead of your whole entire day being, you got a minute, you got a minute, you got a minute, what will happen is you'll first identify what is actually important here, and then get everybody working on that. And then for a lot of the miscellaneous stuff that's left, I find it helps to have office hours. To say, hey, for all the little shit, I'm available Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Bring everything you got. And what you'll find is most times they'll solve those problems on their own without asking you. And just give you an update. Hey, we had this problem. This is what we did. And what's left, instead of getting thrown at you all day long and feel like you're getting a barrage of shit. And you can do the same thing with clients, by the way. You can say, hey, I handle our client emails Monday from 9 to 12 because I spend most of the time actually working on your stuff. So I just ask, be patient with me because I respond these times and these times. And they'll usually be cool with it. And then what will happen is, instead of all day long, shit coming at you, all of a sudden it'll just be 2-3 hours of small shit. And the rest of the time will be spent focused on the big stuff, with the important stuff, that stuff that actually moves the needle. And it starts with just getting organized. And actually, I think in many ways, the first thing to probably get organized on is your KPIs. Is just ask yourself, what are we trying to pay attention here? Right? To me, I think of the land guys, it's almost always, it's most useful to focus on inputs. So the land guys know if you send 100 letters every week, you're going to get a deal. Right? It's the most predictable outcome in the world. It's if you consistently send 100 letters every week, you'll average a deal a week. Right? So to them, the thing to focus on is, did we send our 100 letters? That doesn't mean every week they get a deal, by the way. Right? Some weeks they get 5 and some weeks they get 0. But they know if they consistently do the action, it'll produce the result. And so almost always managing an agency intelligently is figure out the 5 to 10 numbers that are important and then manage those things and focus on the inputs you need to hit the numbers you want to do. Right? If you're trying to do $1 million a year and you have a $2,000 a month service, well, you got to hit $84,000 a year in recurring revenue. And that means you're going to need 41, 42 clients. And so if you're not averaging a sale a week, you're not going to hit that number in a year, right? You're just not, right? So you need, and if you close 1 in 4 people you talk to, well, then you're going to have to talk to 4 of them on average every week to hit your numbers at the end of the year, right? And so you focus on hey, what are we doing to get 4 calls this week? Or, in my case, 4 videos, right? So I say that when you want to hit things in the managerial stage, a lot of it is just getting organized about what's important and then getting the team to buy in about what's important. Anyways, hope that's helpful. Last question we got on the docket. Actually, 2, sorry. Brad says, what are the best tools and strategies for managing a grow? Oh, never mind. That already was Brad. So we got Chad who says, what are some of the most effective ways to reduce client churn, especially when delivering solid results, but clients still choose to leave? I'll tell you, this is a really fucking disheartening thing when it happens to you, which is that you work your nuts off, your clients are actually winning, and they're still canceling. They're still fucking canceling. And I'm going to break down for you guys in a second why clients cancel and what the 5 areas you should look to if they're canceling. But first, I just want to say, I have a friend who a lot of times people think if you just get people results, they'll automatically stay. And I remember I had a friend, he took on a coaching client. They were a Facebook ad client, and they started at $10K a month. And he ended up helping them tweak their offer, their landing page. He got really deep in the non-Facebook ad things. And eventually they were able to hit $400K a month. So they turned into a $6 million a year business through his Facebook ads. And I'll never forget, he told me after 3-4 months, they canceled on him. So he took them from 10K to 400K a month, an extra 390K. Substantial life difference. And they fired his ass. And a lot of times I hear beginners say, just get results, man. Just get results. People will stay if you just get results, man. I'm here to tell you that is not always the case. So there are 5 things I look for, and I'll break down a little bit of each of these, what you want to look for. But one of those things that actually causes clients to stay or not stay, how do you communicate with them, right? And I say this 50% of your job is building the thing that gets them results, and 50% of your job is actually telling them about building the thing. Second thing is how unique your offer is, and all the flip side of that is how difficult it is to replace you. Third is what results you get. Obviously, you're not going to keep clients long term if there's no results happening of any kind. The fourth is how you set and manage expectations and paint a vision of the future. And the fifth are little extras you do to exceed those expectations. So let's talk about number one reason clients leave, by the way, is perceived indifference. And it's funny because they did studies on this years ago, and they asked businesses, why did your customers leave? And they always said price. They could get it somewhere cheaper. And then they asked the customers, and they said, oh, they were indifferent, like they didn't care. It didn't matter one way or another whether I left. Perceived indifference, like they don't care. And so I wrote about this in my first book, but like this is a real story. So like where I used to live in Mexico, it's a lot of like new construction and stuff like that. I remember like seeing my neighbor outside, and we made small talk, and all I was trying to do was get to small talk, and I was like, hey, nice house you got there, neighbor, like just Ned Flanders, that shit. And I said to him, like, how was your experience of getting the house built? Like, how was it with the builder? And he looked at me and went, the worst fucking experience of my life. And he proceeded to tell me that he sent basically his life savings to a stranger in Mexico, sight unseen. So he was in America, wired all the money he had, gave it to a stranger in Mexico, and then didn't hear anything from anybody for like months and months and months. And then eventually they sent him a letter in the mail that was like a very technical Spanish, and he didn't understand it. And I said, like, what happened? How did it end? And he said, oh, I came down here after a year. And I said, and then what? And he goes, oh, the house was built perfect. So I want you guys to understand that even if you build a house perfectly, right, like whatever your house is, SEO, Facebook ads, pay-per-click, web design, video editing, funnels, sales copy, whatever your house you're building is, only 50% of it is building an awesome house, because if you don't communicate what's happening with the house, they will fill it with anxiety. And so, like, client communication to me is about over communicating. And by the way, we built tools so that all of this is swipeable in the Wolfpack, so you like have your own client communication. But you actually want to over communicate. Like if you think about the house example, you'd want to, here's a little video of your plot of land. You legally own it. Congrats. Hey, we just put in the foundation today. I know it doesn't look like much, but this is the start of a house. Hey, we're starting to put up walls. Hey, we're starting to put in windows. Electrical's going in. Hey, this is Juan. He's been working on your house for the last 2 months. We're a couple days behind schedule, but we're catching up, right? The more you communicate about it proactively, the happier you're going to find clients are, even if your results do not improve, by the way. If your communication and frequency and updates improve, they will feel like you care, even if nothing about your actual house changes. So that's the first thing, is the communication. Second thing is, and this is actually the cheat code. Somebody asked me which one's the most important, but I like to create what I call a mini monopoly. So like, I'm the only one who's got the shit that I got. And like, a lot of you guys ask me about Loom videos. Well, that's done on purpose, right? Because how else if you want to close on video, who else on planet Earth are you going to talk to besides me, right? Like, so that's done intentionally, where you want to shift your offer enough that you're the only ones to do it. I think about, there's a company in the legal space called Alert Communications, and they're like a virtual assistant hiring agency kind of thing. And all they do is they answer the phone after hours. So a lot of attorneys can answer their phone Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But evenings and weekends, they don't know what the fuck to do, right? And so Alert Communications, because they still get calls from Google at 6 o'clock, they will answer the phone. They will take down that person's contact info, and they say, well, I can't answer legal questions, but I'll get a lawyer to call you back in the morning. And that's all they do. And they charge something like $500 to $1,000 a month. It's a pay-per-use model, but most people spend about $500 to $1,000 a month. They're a $100 million plus company, and they're very mediocre. Very mediocre, just so you know. They don't close any calls. They don't set any appointments. They're not sharks. So why are they a $100 million company? And the answer is very simple. They're the only ones who do it. Right? So if you can create an offer, this is why I'm big on creating, and I've done some trainings for you guys, by the way, on how to create out-of-the-box offers that not everybody else has. But almost everybody else will get you more leads with SEO, pay-per-click, web design, Facebook ads, some combination of that. And they haven't thought through the specifics about how to make their stuff unique enough. And the easiest way, by the way, to do that is just don't change your deliverable, just help them to sell their most expensive thing. Like, hey, we do SEO versus we do SEO to help you sell your $40,000 masterminds, or we do SEO to help you get this type of specific job, like deck jobs that you want. That's deck, not with an E, not with an I, for those of you guys who are dirty-minded. But how unique your offer is, how difficult it is to replace you, determines whether or not people stay. And this is, by the way, For that reason, you're going to have a harder time keeping people with something like SEO, where they get pitched it every 5 minutes and there's a new competitor coming in. Just the nature of the game. Third, obviously, what results you get. You're not going to like keep people without results, but as long as you're in the 80 percentile, meaning like your shit works better than most people, not like we're the best in the world at Facebook ads, but they work well enough, you're usually like your results are on point enough to keep clients. Getting your lead cost down further and whatever is probably not going to be the deciding factor. Fourth is how you set and manage expectations. By the way, this became really, really obvious to me. Like I mentioned this before, but the best stuff I learned from attorneys, not from agencies. And I realized, like, holy shit, their shit is the same as ours. And so they used to talk about, like, I remember one of my mentors, Ken, used to talk about, he did a practice area called Social Security Disability. And what happens is somebody signs up with them as an attorney, and then they immediately file paperwork at a courthouse, and then the courthouse proceeds to move slow as fuck. So for about 9 or 12 months, nothing happens. And they said it was a constant nightmare because clients would call and be like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? And they would be like, well, we're waiting for your court date. 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 That's what we're doing. We can't make the courthouse go any faster than we want them to. And so Ken said he ultimately realized that he had to create a visual, and so he created an infographic that showed a timeline, and it showed, like, you are here, we file your paperwork immediately, and then we wait 9 to 12 months, and then when the court date, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And they could see it on a timeline. And then he put in proactive communication. He would call the clients once a month to say, hey, there's no update, and the reason why there's no update is we're still waiting for a court date from the courthouse. It'll happen, but like they just don't move quickly. But just so you know, that's why we're in a holding pattern. It's not waiting on us. It's waiting on them, right? And so once they put in that infographic and the timeline, he said all of his, like, when the fuck are you going to do something, all his client problems disappeared. Well, we created the same infographic and timeline in our agency. And the magic of that infographic, it's really just a visual of expectations. That's what we're really talking about, right? So I say that, like, the more you have that you show, like, this is what you can expect in the process. And I realized, like, it sounds really obvious when I saw it in the attorney space, but I was like, people don't know what's supposed to happen when they hire an attorney. And I was like, yeah, how would they? How would they know what the legal process looks like? And I propose to you the same is true of an agency. That people don't know what's supposed to happen when they hire you. They don't know how much the leads are supposed to cost. They don't know how long it's supposed to take. They don't know how long they should be patient for. They don't know what they're supposed to hear from you. They don't know what they're supposed to do in the process for it to succeed. So the more you spell those things out and show them that you got a plan and you're building towards it, happier people are going to be. And when it comes to setting expectations, like, promise them lower than what you can actually do. I heard a lawyer say this once. He said, when people hire me, they have no idea how much money they're supposed to win. So if I tell them I think we can get 15,000 and we only get 10, they think I'm the worst lawyer in history. But if I tell them I think we can get 10 and we get 15, they think I'm the greatest lawyer in history and I just got an average result, right? A very typical average result. He said, so I learned to say, whenever I thought it would be 15, I learned to say 10. Because, and that's setting expectations in a nutshell. If you think you can get $10 leads, tell them 15. If you think it's going to take 6 months, tell them 12. If you think you're going to communicate once every 2 weeks, tell them once a month, right? Like, you want to exceed expectations that you create. And that leads me to the last little piece, is the little extras you do to exceed those expectations. I'll never forget, by the way, first time I got brought into consulting, a big shot lawyer brought me in to consult with their SEO. And ultimately, like, when I looked at it long enough, I came to the conclusion, like, this company hasn't done anything for you for 10 years. And I remember asking him, like, why would you keep an SEO company for 10 years at $10K a month that's, like, not any good? And his answer, like, still to this day kind of makes me laugh. He said, well, he's my golfing buddy. We go golfing every second Friday. So, right, like the little extras you do to establish real relationships with clients, and Joey Coleman's Never Lose a Customer, again, lays this out beautifully. But the more that's laid out for you, it'll just make your life easier. And I say that because when you, like, build real relationships with client and do those little extras, it's really hard to fire you. It's really hard to let you go. It's really, like, he doesn't want to fire his golfing buddy. Even if he's literally paying that guy $120,000 a year to be his golfing buddy because he wasn't paying him for SEO, I can tell you that. And yet, it's still hard to let him go, right? And so you want to make yourself hard to let go. So those are the 5 factors. Like if you're trying to get rid of churn, the questions you want to be asking yourself, like, what are we communicating? And almost always, by the way, communication has a giveaway, which is if the clients are asking you for an update, it means it's been too long between when you let them know, right? So do it more frequently than they ask. So client communication, how unique your offer is and how difficult it is to replace you, what results you get, how you set and manage expectations and paint a vision of the future, and those little extras that you do to show people we really want your business. You are wanted and desired in this. You do that, you're going to crush it. And that's all I got for questions, by the way. I hope that's helpful for you guys in this happy Monday. And for those of you guys who haven't checked it out, the Wolfpack, just like what I've been focusing on the Wolfpack is just speed, making everything easier and faster to implement. One of the things I struggled with for a lot of years is I have like a template or a swipe file for just about everything you want to do in an agency. But the challenge is that everybody like has like a slightly different application. Like how you onboard a client for Facebook ads is a little bit different than SEO. It's a little bit different than pay-per-click. It's the same shit. Like same principles guide it. And I've managed to like create custom GPTs now where I've programmed them with all our swipe files. And now they're just, the AI is not necessarily writing your onboarding. It's just personalizing it to you. It's like just, oh, okay, so you're trying to do Facebook ads. Okay, then we'll talk about Facebook ads here. And because I built those, like what we're able to do now is like do so much of the agency stuff faster. Like you want to get clients, we got stuff to send clients. You can do it in minutes. You want to do market research? You want to figure out like what people will pay you for. We can, got copy and paste questions. You can go ask those in seconds. You want to create a Loom video? Like I got a prompt now. Does it in 2 minutes. You want to onboard somebody? We got a swipe file for onboard. You want to communicate? We got to communicate. You want to hire somebody? We got swipe files for how to hire people. And now with the advent of AI, we can implement that for you in like under 2 minutes. So it's really, really exciting times is all the micro applications of this. So for those of you guys who haven't already checked it out, haven't considered joining us, go check it out. BeyondAgencyProfits.com/Wolfpack, or you can just go to BeyondAgencyProfits.com, click the Wolfpack link. And for those of you guys who have considered joining it, get off the fucking fence, man. Like, don't make this shit harder than it needs to be, right? Like, you have no idea. Like, I've said this before. I don't make people successful that wouldn't otherwise be successful. But what I do inside of there is, take 8 years of struggle and turn it into 8 weeks. Or if it was going to be an 8-week struggle, let's turn it into 8 hours. Let's not, you could spend weeks, months, years figuring out your offers and your teams and your systems and your SOPs, or we could, sort that shit in minutes. So anyways, for those of you guys who haven't checked it out, check it out. Appreciate you guys. Happy Monday. Much love. May the force be with you. Appreciate you guys all who stuck around to hear this old man yell at cloud for an hour. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll also like my book on Amazon called Beyond the Agency Box, which you can also find by my name, Frankie Finn, and it's got a lot of awesome reviews, and it really just goes deeper on a lot of things we're talking about, everything you need to grow and start a lifestyle agency, from the stages you'll go through to getting clients, to how to create winning offers, to high-value deliverables, to wowing clients, to building teams, to building systems, and building a boring factory that's like a 7-figure money machine for you. So if you're interested, I put links for you in the video description, as well as it'll be in the pinned top comment below, and make sure to check those out.